The breakfast foods lining supermarket shelves aren't nearly as healthy as their colorful packaging suggests. In America, breakfast is a $42 billion industry driven by relentless corporate competition for consumer loyalty. Cheap, mass-produced options dominate, shaping our eating habits through aggressive marketing. Fighting against what television commercials tell your children to eat each morning is an uphill battle. Take cereal, for example. It turns into glucose almost instantly in your digestive system. Eating a bowl of cornflakes without sugar versus eating pure sugar without cornflakes might taste different, but metabolically, your body sees them as nearly identical. This concept of engineering breakfast for profit dates back to the late 19th century, when companies like Beech-Nut dabbled in everything from chewing gum to mustard. But their real goldmine wasn't condiments. It was bacon. The modern American breakfast wasn't built on nutrition, but on corporate strategy. The Industrial Revolution disrupted traditional farm breakfasts, and companies like Kellogg's and Beech-Nut seized the moment. Edward Bernays, the mastermind behind bacon's rise, went head-to-head with John Harvey Kellogg, the man who revolutionized cereal. Both marketed their products as essential to health, despite little scientific backing. Meanwhile, California citrus growers transformed morning routines with the calculated introduction of orange juice, turning a single fruit into a sugar-loaded industry. Today, fast food corporations see breakfast as their final frontier, competing for dominance in an already crowded market. Yet one message has remained constant. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, not for your health, but for corporate profits. The story of breakfast in America reveals how marketing, not science, continues to dictate what we eat each morning. It's the beginning of the 20th century, and America is thriving. Electric lighting illuminates every household. Refrigeration technology has officially become commonplace, and radio's invention has enabled companies to advertise their products to widespread audiences at an unprecedented scale in human history. Indeed, existence is quite exhilarating, but this industrial revolution brought certain challenges, specifically dyspepsia, a digestive disorder that was proliferating nationwide. And truthfully, it's unsurprising. The population transitioned from agricultural activity to sedentary office positions daily, causing digestive deterioration, and dyspepsia wasn't merely a minor ailment, but a comprehensive epidemic. Office employees experienced symptoms including nausea episodes, profuse perspiration, and gastric burning sensations. No newspaper could be acquired without encountering dyspepsia-related articles, and eventually, health specialists began attributing this dyspepsia phenomenon to excessive breakfast consumption. Consequently, substantial breakfasts became unfashionable while minimal breakfasts gained popularity, and guess who waited strategically with a comprehensive remedy? None other than John H. Kellogg. Since adolescence, John Kellogg had been extensively involved with the Seventh-day Adventist denomination. This religious organization maintained that all human illnesses resulted from inappropriate behavior and excessive stimulation. And according to Adventist teachings, controlling stimulation requires a restrictive, flavorless diet, preferably comprising fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. John Kellogg considered sexual intercourse and self-gratification sinful, and his concept of nutritious diet was designed to eliminate sexual desire entirely. So what measures did he implement? He developed the most tasteless, arid, uninteresting, repressive breakfast imaginable: cornflake cereal. Indeed, one of America's current breakfast favorites was engineered to obliterate libido. Fascinating, right? It suggests intentional numbing and compliance.
Cereal was a complete game changer. Gone were the days of getting up early to start the fire just to make porridge or reheating last night's greasy leftovers. Cornflakes were a convenient, nutritious, ready-to-eat breakfast, perfect for the busy masses who'd left the farms to work as employees in factories following the Industrial Revolution. Kellogg's Cereal Company led the pack in what became a multi-million-dollar industry.
With substantial breakfast being blamed for indigestion epidemics, John H. Kellogg recognized his perfect opportunity, and Kellogg acted immediately. He exhausted every resource to establish his toasted cornflakes as the premier morning sustenance. He purchased newspaper advertising space and began making extraordinary health assertions. Disregard that corn combined with skim milk precisely matches farmers' pig fattening formula. Consumers remained oblivious. They desired breakfast without workplace sickness, and here it materialized. When Kellogg's incorporated smiling characters on packaging, children essentially pleaded desperately for this breakfast alternative. Originally developed for swine consumption, and eventually John H. Kellogg would establish a phrase persisting within cultural consciousness for generations: breakfast, the most important meal of the day. He succeeded, Consumers became enthusiastic about cereal, and as Beechnut's chief executive officer, America's predominant bacon manufacturer, this proved infuriating. You needed Americans to disregard this trivial dyspepsia concern and resume bacon consumption, a straightforward basic breakfast. Time diminished rapidly when you approached our associate Edward Bernays, propaganda's originator. Bernays didn't emerge spontaneously. He was Sigmund Freud's nephew, the renowned psychoanalyst, and was responsible for persuading Americans toward remarkably unexpected behaviors, like convincing an entire female generation that public smoking wasn't unhygienic and unhealthy, but represented female empowerment symbolism, and you recognize that if anyone could motivate sickly office workers toward bacon, it would be him.
100 years ago, Americans did not eat as heavy breakfast as they do now. Breakfast in the 1920s was light, maybe a roll and some coffee, until one man's job was to get bacon on the plate. Edward Bernays, known as the father of public relations, faced the challenge, boosting bacon sales for the Beechnut Packing Company. Bernays hypothesized that if you can understand psychology, then you can manipulate consumers' behaviors and choices, and his strategies are still employed by the meat industry today.
Papers throughout the country had headlines saying 4,500 physicians urge heavy breakfast. Many of them stated that bacon and eggs should be embodied with the breakfast, and as a result, the sale of bacon went up.
Initially, he questioned one doctor employed by his marketing agency regarding breakfast healthiness, whether a big breakfast or a small breakfast was preferable. The physician responded that between alternatives, the big breakfast would prove advantageous by providing enhanced energy. Obviously, this doctor would certainly face termination for advocating minimal consumption, though nobody monitored this interaction, and the physician's response perfectly aligned with Bernays' expectations. Subsequently, Bernays compensated this doctor to survey 5,000 additional physicians, posing identical questions: which breakfast benefits health more, a big one or a small one, and results were virtually unanimous. 4,500 physicians indicated a big breakfast surpassed a small breakfast health-wise, and consequently, Bernays delivered this statistic directly to media outlets, presenting it as scientific research demonstrating Americans' requirement for big bacon and egg breakfasts despite absence of actual scientific experimentation, and the doctor never specifically inquired about bacon-egg combinations, merely whether more food exceeds less food nutritionally, yet it proved effective. Headlines declaring 4,500 physicians encourage Americans toward big breakfasts for improved health dominated news outlets, prompting gradual Beechnut bacon sales increases, and Bernays continued his campaign. During 1924, he organized an extensive White House breakfast gathering featuring pancake stacks, eggs, and naturally abundant bacon, because if suitable for presidential consumption, surely appropriate for ordinary citizens, correct? Therefore, after several years of propaganda bombardment, Beechnut bacon sales transformed from moderate to exceptionally profitable. Indeed, the cherished lucrative farm-style breakfast returned alongside cereal. Neither conclusively demonstrated healthiness as initial daily sustenance, yet generated substantial wealth for select individuals, while additional profit opportunities remained unexplored. Envision your quintessential American morning meal. You've arranged your pancakes, eggs, bacon, toast, and a generous, invigorating glass of orange juice. But why specifically orange juice? Is it because oranges deliver optimal nutritional benefits when ingested during early morning hours? Probably incorrect. It's actually because during the 1920s, California experienced an overwhelming abundance of oranges. No exaggeration, the citrus trees were multiplying uncontrollably, and orchard proprietors were compelled to eliminate them to prevent market saturation with oranges and subsequent price collapse. After destroying numerous trees, California's orange cultivators determined to implement an alternative approach. They faced two possibilities: continue eliminating trees to maintain stable orange pricing, or persuade the entire American population to simply increase orange purchases. Naturally, they selected the latter strategy. Consequently, the California Fruit Growers Association, who would eventually produce the beverage Sun-Kissed, collaborated with America's premier advertising corporation to manipulate public consumption patterns toward increased orange purchases, specifically encouraging consumption by the glassful. One particular agency, headed by Albert Lasker, invented a kitchen implement, an orange juicer that would be distributed for merely 10 cents with every orange bag purchased. This seemingly insignificant 10-cent juicer would generate substantial profits for all orange enterprises. Consuming a single orange with breakfast was thoroughly adequate, but suddenly people could effortlessly drink approximately 2 to 3 oranges worth of juice. Remarkably clever, wouldn't you agree? Predictably, the entire nation rapidly embraced the orange juice phenomenon, consuming full glasses of orange juice every morning alongside their breakfast meals.
I think a lot of people, if you ask them, they would say that getting oranges, cutting them open and squeezing them is the best and the greenest and the healthiest option. And my friends, it is the best! Now let's quickly interface with the health differences, and I'll piss some people off by saying that there are none. They are all glasses full of sugar. There is one way in which fresh squeezed orange juice is healthier than the other kinds. It is that it is so much more work, and it is so much more expensive that you will consume less of it. Because that's the only healthy kind of orange juice, less. It's just candy water. You've heard me give this rant before, but I won't stop doing it. But by slapping on labels like rich in vitamin C and no added sugar and 100% pure squeezed orange juice and not for concentrate, we get the sense that this is healthy not just on its own, but especially in comparison with juice from concentrate.
If you're operating McDonald's or Taco Bell or Burger King and seeking increased revenue, breakfast presents the ideal opportunity. Consider this perspective. Lunch and dinner menus remain relatively established. Consumers prefer their sandwiches, they enjoy their protein, but what Americans select for breakfast remains largely undetermined, and certain individuals completely forego breakfast, thus creating abundant possibilities to introduce novel concepts, enticing options that will transform these lifetime breakfast abstainers. Products such as Pop-Tarts, toaster strudels, sugar-laden cereals, McGriddle combinations, the McDonald's breakfast, that's already substantial caloric content. Have you considered why McDonald's frequently offers complimentary coffee? Their strategy aims to attract customers into establishments to purchase their habit-forming breakfast innovations. Throughout 2007 to 2012, breakfast revenue nationally expanded by 4.8%, while lunch and dinner sales demonstrated complete stagnation. These early hours represent tremendous profit potential with strategic planning. Fast food establishments recognize that between 6 and 9 a.m. exists a substantial population of employment-bound individuals requiring sustenance, essentially needing oral consumption before occupying their workplace stations. Fast food chains aggressively compete to become your go-to breakfast choice, often attacking rivals while defending their own products. When government regulations attempt to limit sugar or preservatives in breakfast foods, corporate lobbying steps in to resist change. Just as Kellogg's did in the 1970s, when WIC removed Raisin Bran from nutritional assistance due to its high sugar content. Once achieving breakfast market dominance, preservation becomes paramount regardless of methods employed. Is it particularly astonishing that Kellogg's eagerly seized opportunities positioning their cereal as breakfast centerpiece or beech nut, implementing deceptive promotional strategies, reintroducing bacon to consumer plates? Breakfast represents their most significant daily meal economically, but fundamentally speaking, do consumers genuinely require morning food consumption?
People who care about their health don't eat fast food. The constant watchfulness of food regulatory bodies could have an effect on how they run their businesses.
For decades, we've been told breakfast is the most important meal of the day, a mantra deeply ingrained by corporate marketing. But is this daily ritual a genuine biological need or a cleverly manufactured necessity? Historically, many cultures have naturally incorporated fasting into their routines. From the Islamic observance of Ramadan to Buddhist meditation practices, and even the many lessons in the Holy Bible, periods of abstaining from food have long been a part of spiritual and practical life. In times of food scarcity, fasting wasn't a choice, but a way of life. Perhaps our bodies are more adapted to periods without food than we've been led to believe.
Religions have been touting the benefits of fasting for your soul for millennia, right? Yeah. But doctors actually for about 100 years have known that it was good for mental health, it was good for weight loss, it was good if you're diabetic, good for intestinal issues, all those things.
Taught our whole lives that breakfast is the biggest most important meal, and this is counterintuitive to that.
I think that was a marketing hype, that you had to eat breakfast. The fact of the matter is when you get up, if you're not hungry, do not eat till you are hungry.
Modern science is now catching up with ancient wisdom, revealing compelling benefits of fasting. Studies on intermittent fasting highlight its positive impact on metabolism, improving insulin sensitivity, and promoting cellular repair through autophagy. Research indicates that strategic fasting can be a powerful tool for weight management, potentially contributing to longevity and even enhancing mental clarity. This scientific backing challenges the constant snacking culture and suggests that periods of fasting may actually be beneficial for our overall health, aligning with practices found in diverse cultures and Christian traditions like Lent. However, this narrative sharply contrasts with the persistent corporate push for breakfast and frequent eating. Driven by a multi-billion-dollar breakfast industry and processed food sector, the message of constant consumption is profitable, not necessarily healthy. Marketing campaigns skillfully link breakfast with energy, focus, and overall well-being, conditioning us to believe skipping it is detrimental. This relentless promotion often overshadows the potential benefits of fasting, leaving many unaware of an alternative and perhaps more natural approach to eating. Have we been subtly conditioned to fear skipping breakfast, a meal often marketed rather than biologically essential? Instead of forcing a morning meal, consider exploring intermittent fasting. A simple daily practice could be extending your overnight fast by a few hours, eating your first meal a bit later in the day. Listen to your body, challenge ingrained beliefs, and explore whether embracing periods of fasting might be a more natural and beneficial path towards health and well-being. So, after everything we've covered, do you really need to start your day with a sugar bomb disguised as breakfast? Because let's be honest, this entire meal is a corporate invention, fine-tuned over the decades to keep you craving more. But while breakfast food propaganda is one thing, what if I told you there's an even bigger scam hiding right on your plate? That crispy, sizzling, oh-so-addictive strip of bacon? Yeah, it didn't just land on your plate by accident. Here at Tasting the Truth, we uncover the hidden forces shaping what you eat, from billion-dollar marketing tricks to industry cover-ups they hope you never question. And the same tactics used to sell you cereal were used to turn bacon into an American breakfast staple. The deeper you dig, the darker the truth gets. Ancient warnings, biological red flags, and even a connection to some of the most shocking food industry scandals in history. If you think breakfast was a lie, wait until you hear the real story behind bacon. Click the link on screen now to see why you might never look at it the same way again.